You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Brian Fullerton here. Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Thanks so much for joining in with us. Guys, we have another great guest interview with none other than the man, Kory Ballard from Perfect Cut. Kory, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing good, buddy. Glad to be back on again.
Absolutely, man. How's things going in Iowa, man? You guys actually just got leveled, dude, by a tropical storm, or what was all that about?
It was, I think, 115 and 120 mile an hour winds. So actually higher winds than Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
So we still don't have, I was out of town actually, and when the storm rolled through, but we still don't have, at the Ballard office, still don't have internet, still don't have phones. There's still over 100,000 people without power right now.
Holy cow.
I think you take that for granted without, no power. So the trees are just absolutely leveled. I only lost one tree, luckily, but it has wiped out, a lot of Iowa. Just fences, roofs, trees. So pretty crazy. And it really just came out of nowhere. They were talking a little bit of rain, a little bit of storms.
Yeah.
Nobody was prepared for it. It took down houses that were half constructed. It was a absolute disaster. And again, so there's we still don't have internet. We don't even have phones at the Ballard office. So
holy cow!
I'm meeting MediaCom tomorrow at between noon and 1. Or noon and 5 to give you that 5-hour window. So
yeah,
hopefully we can get our internet working again. And but yeah, it was quite the deal. It just seems like 2020 just keeps punching us in the mouth.
I was going to say, man, if you can make it through this year, you can knock on wood, make it through anything. What is this storm? Was it like a hurricane or a tropical storm, or just something that peppered up with like a perfect storm? And it just because I saw the photos on Instagram, man. It looked. This sounds actually really tacky, but like it looks like somebody mowed stripes in Iowa. I saw like the radar photos, and I'm sure you've seen the same ones. You could see green, dark green. And I heard that like 60% of farmers like lost their crop, like hundreds of millions of dollars of damages. Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah, I guess we're in the middle of nowhere, so I don't know how. I guess we've never had winds like this in the state of Iowa, so I don't know where it came from or how it got to us. I can't imagine it's actually a tropical storm, but it just the farm the crops are literally laying down like grass. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wiped out. So the impact on farmers, the impact, again, shingles were ripped, roofing's destroyed. It had semis on the tops, car lots. Literally picked cars up and slammed cars on. It looked like a hurricane. It was hurricane wind.
Jeez, old Pete.
The trees were down, and we're in the tree. We have a tree division, so but we're full with our current work, so we don't have really the capacity to. We'll run, evening crews and Saturdays and Sundays and do storm cleanup. But, then what happens in our area, anytime a storm rolls in, you've got all these companies coming from,
out of
big city, Chicago, Kansas City,
yep.
Wherever, St. Louis, rolling into town with, their bucket trucks. And we don't, somebody's got to get this stuff cleaned up. There's, power lines down. And so, yeah, it's been quite a mess, and hopefully we'll get things somewhat restored. But it was, I was gone, and I'm like, man, it just seems like people just can't catch a break right now. And, it's like, there's no normalcy. And, a lot of people, whether you have insurance or not, they can't afford, you get trees down on your roof, and, it's a mess. It's pretty unfortunate. And I don't think anybody was prepared for it, obviously. And you're now, it was a, I don't know, once in a lifetime deal. So,
wow.
Yeah. So everything, other than that, business has been good. The weather's been fairly cooperating. We've been getting some timely rain. Usually August it's super dry, and so business is good. And we're just kind of switching gears a little bit, get ready for our fall, and then obviously prepping a little bit for snow. And
yep.
And things are good.
No, dude, that's awesome, bro. Well, I'm glad. I was just thinking about. I wanted to pay some respects to Iowa, man. I pray for those guys. I was just Liz and I were looking at it from Instagram, and I'm like, man, like they got pummeled. Like this wasn't like a bad storm. This was a bad 100-year storm, And
exactly.
Well, you and I were talking, for some of you guys listening in, today's podcast, we're going to be talking about business partnerships, like how to form them, ways to approach them, things to evaluate, things that maybe could blindside you if you're not paying attention. I mean, Kory, you have a business partner, Matt, that you brought in into the company a handful of years as you were growing this thing, and so. Actually, this whole conversation stemmed from listening to your podcast, the Green Grind podcast. You and Leroy and another gentleman, Adam, were talking some really good content, and my brain was lighting up like a Christmas tree. I was like, man, this is good conversation. I don't feel like there's been a lot of content out on it because I get a lot of guys messaging me, Kory, like, hey, me and my buddy, and whether they're 16 or 26, they want to team up. And I'm always really wary when I hear people wanting to partner up because partnerships are very, very dynamic. And Josh Latimer, who's a service industry coach, he said, like, partnerships are like gluing two pieces of paper together. He's like, you can separate them, but it's extremely difficult. And I was like, man, that's a good visual with how tough it is with business partnerships sometimes. So I got one of the guys on that has a super successful lawn and landscape company and a partnership as well. And so we're going to hear from the show sponsors here, and then we're going to dive right into it. But there's so many cans of worms here that I want to open up and just hear from the horse's mouth how Kory structured his company. And it seems to be a pretty successful partnership over the last 10 to 20 years. So let's do this. We're going to take a quick break, hear from the show sponsors, and then we're going to get right into it.
Step up your hearing protection game this season with ISO Tunes. Our headphones merge high-quality audio with noise-blocking earplugs. So ditch those hot and heavy muffs or upgrade your non-protective earbuds. Our newest release, ISO Tunes Pro 2.0, offers 16 hours of battery life and is completely waterproof. Treat your ears to OSHA-certified hearing protection at isotunes.com today.
Man, I dig the sound of those things. I recently treated myself to some ISO Tunes. I've been wearing them all day. They're super comfy. They keep all the workshop noise out. The sound quality was great. Of course, speaking of great sound quality, from the famed Fullerton Unfiltered studio, back to Brian.
Awesome, guys. Well, cool deal. We'll always appreciate the show sponsors sponsoring the show, and thank you to Mr. Producer for handling all of that. Guys, again, without the support of the sponsors, we wouldn't have a show because this stuff takes a lot of time and energy. And actually, Kory, you got the Green Grind podcast, right? So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a little more work than what we anticipated, and so I know how much work goes into for you to constantly putting these out for the guys, and we're doing an episode every 2 weeks, and you're putting out several a week, so
yeah.
Definitely appreciate that. I listen to them as well, and I learned something from all the guests. I listen to a lot of podcasts as well, and just try to know who's doing what in the industry. And I still, doesn't matter the size of their company. I listen and I get good information, good ideas, and I like to kind of see what guys are doing and learn who's doing what. I even like that you guys had you had that guy from the mulch Mulchmate, right?
Yeah, Nick Carlson. Yep.
Yeah, Nick, and I really enjoyed that one as well. Just kind of hearing his story, and I like hearing how guys got where they got, and what got them inspired to create this product. And so yeah, I know the work that goes into them. We were just talking a little bit. And it's they are. It's easy to say I'm going to do a podcast. The hard work is actually doing it and staying committed.
Yeah, amen. Well, and again, we appreciate all of you guys that are listeners of the show and leave the reviews and the ratings. It does go a long way. And I just wanted to plug that really quick. The Green Grind podcast. It's with Kory Ballard and another gentleman, Leroy, which is one of Kory's friends, and he runs a business as well that's extremely successful. So when you guys are on the mowers 30-40 hours a week, and hey, I only put out a couple episodes a week, Paul only puts out a couple episodes a week, but Kory, we were laughing, there's like 5 or 10 podcasts in our industry now, and everybody's doing it. But you know what, the more the merrier, man. I'm on my mower 30-40 hours a week. I can consume a lot of content when I'm cutting grass. Amen. So
absolutely.
I love it. Well, and again, by the way, shout out to Ballard Products as well. You guys have been a sponsor of the show, which is super supportive and appreciative. And the Brian's 10 Code works with Kory's second business, which is the Ballard product. So we might talk a little bit about that towards the end as we gear up for fall. So well, let's get into the meat of it. Let's get into the thick of it. I want to make sure that we give these guys as much value as possible. So Kory, this whole conversation stemmed from, like I said, I was listening to one of your episodes with your friend Leroy and another guest named Adam. And there was just a lot of things with partnerships that I didn't know, I don't do, but the way you approach them, they seem very thoughtful, very intelligent. There's a lot of insight there, because I've always wondered the same things. Like, well, what happens when one guy comes into the business and he's got all the know-how, but the other guy's got all the money? Right, like we've seen that.
Right.
We've seen it where the company grows to 5 million, and one guy wants to cash out, and the other guy wants to take it to 20 million. Right. So can you give us maybe your lineage and your timelines of Ballard, Perfect Cut? That's your actual lawn and landscape business in Iowa. Can you just give people the lay of the land and the context first before we dive into that, so people understand where you're coming from with your business partnership with Matt?
Yeah, so Perfect Cut Site Management now is a full service mainly commercial lawn and landscape company and snow removal, of course. And we've got an office in Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, and Omaha, Nebraska. And, but it started with me and a lawnmower and a moped. And so my partnership wasn't necessarily intentional in the beginning. Just like you, I get a ton of guys that ask questions. Should I do a partnership? My buddy and I want to go into business together. My brother and I, my cousin and I, so, every partnership's a little bit different. And we can dive into that a little bit after, so my story is just, I always knew that I could only take it so far by myself. I needed to, surround myself with people that had the same goals, same core values, same intention. And, so Matt was, kind of by accident, I hired Matt just as a mowing guy, and he just had right from the get-go had an incredible knack for selling work. And I knew how to get the work done. Not that I couldn't sell, but he was a better salesman than me. And I recognized that very early on. And to this day, we get a lot of people say, "Man, you and Matt are really different." And I said, "Well, that's exactly why it works, right? You don't need two of me, and we don't need two of him." And so we learned a lot from each other. And what happened over time was, I recognized his talent, and I made him a commitment. And I said, here, Matt, you stick with me. And I actually got him to drop out of college. This is kind of a weird deal. I had to meet with him and his mom, and he was going to college. And I said, man, I think we can do something special here. And when we were just young kids and, 20, 21, 22. And so I didn't make him a partner. He didn't actually buy into the company for probably 10 or 15 years after that. But
okay,
I treated him like a partner from day one. We did some, phantom stock, which you guys can do, where you can really treat that key person, like they're a part of the company without actually giving them ownership. But I made a commitment to Matt, and I upheld my commitment to Matt. And for us, it's worked really well. I can tell you, Matt and I have had less than 10 probably arguments in 20 plus years where we're on the same page most of the time. And at the root of it all is do we have the same core values and the same goals? I mean, he makes decisions that I don't agree with. I make decisions he doesn't agree with. But are they in the best interest of the company? And that for us has worked really well. It's allowed us also to, when people always say, I wish I could clone myself. Well, sometimes in partnerships, you have the ability to kind of clone yourself. You have the ability to maybe focus on where you're best in the company and where your partner's best. And, when we certainly had some hiccups over the years where at one point nobody really knew who was, in most companies, somebody's got to be in charge. Who's in charge?
Right.
And, I think about 6-7 years ago, him and I had to sit down and we said, okay, moving forward, you're going to handle the sales and the account management side. I'll handle the operations. Anything outside of that, if somebody comes to me with a question about sales, even if I know the answer, I say, you got to go see Matt. Well, just, tell me you got to go see Matt. So you're telling me you can't answer my question? No, I can answer your question. You got to go see Matt.
Okay. Yeah.
We had to draw some lines in the sand because, I'd tell somebody something and he'd come over and be like, dude, that's not how we're doing it. And I'm like, oh, really? And same deal. Or he'd tell somebody something operational. And I'm like, Matt, that's not how we're doing it. We have a different schedule or whatever it would be. And again, never with, bad intentions. We're just trying to answer the question and help the company move forward. But it was kind of the mom and dad thing. If you don't get the answer from me you want, you'll go to Matt or vice versa. And
sure.
So we had to, kind of define our roles. And I think that's important in any business. When I talk to guys that, they say they want to get a partner, I always ask them why, what value does it bring to the company? And what is the end goal? Because I can tell you, Matt and I life has evolved. We both have 3 kids. Matt and I we went on vacations together. We did everything together, and then life starts to change a little bit. And, over the years, he's worked 60 hours a week and I've worked 30. I've worked 60. He's worked 30.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to go climb Mount Everest. I wanted to go on a 6-month motorcycle ride. And you start to change, your life starts to change. And if you're not very clear in your communication, you can start to build those resentments as well. And you see that a lot with companies. It always seems that, the intentions are always great in the beginning, right? But,
absolutely.
One guy starts, taking off at 3:00 every day and coming in at 9, and the other guy's there at 6 a.m, staying till 5. And you start to wonder who's pulling the weight. And, maybe one guy wants to make more money than the other guy, or one guy wants to, buy more equipment, invest in new equipment. One guy wants to buy used equipment. So you really have to be aligned. And I say this a lot. It's like a marriage. You have to communicate, respectfully communicate. It takes a lot of work, and I'm sure you get that question a lot too. Like, I really want to join a partnership, and most of them don't do that well. Most partnerships, I don't know what the stats are. We could probably look it up on Google, but it's not a very high percentage. Business failure is already, it's tough to run a business as it is. It's
absolutely
certainly tough with a partner. And, so some of the things we talked about, obviously, is if you are going to get a partner, you have to have very, defined, do the paperwork up front too, set it up legit, make sure everyone understands what their role is and their title. And, and there should be some buy-sell agreements. If one person wants out, what's that look like? And, we've done a really good job of all that. Our business, if something happens to me on a motorcycle trip, I just got back from Sturgis. If I crash my motorcycle and I'm unable to work, or if I'm killed, we have it all outlined exactly what happens, where the money comes from, how much my wife gets. And, because you've seen in, companies where, let's say we don't have that outlined, and my wife says, I think I'm going to come in here and run the company now. And, and so we've just done a really good job, I think, of communicating well, lining things up to protect the company, in what's in the best interest of our family, what's in the best interest of our company. But on a small scale, if you got 2 crews and you and your buddy are going to join forces, that's where it's a little different. Maybe there's growth plans there, but what's the end goal? And like one of the things you mentioned too is sometimes there's guys that just bring in the money. You've got the experience. So Brian, you got the lawn care experience, and a guy says to you, I'm going to inject $500,000 in your company and we're going to take it to X, but he wants a return on his investment. And so, and then what happens is that seems like a really just lovely deal. You're going to get money invested in your company, but then about 2 years in, you go to your guy that invested the money. You're like, well, I'm doing all the work. He's like, well, yeah, that's why that's the deal we signed up for.
Yeah.
And that's where that resentment starts. And so I don't know. That's a long answer to kind of bouncing around a little bit. But
super good.
Partnerships are tough. Partnerships are really tough, and I don't know. I encourage you guys to really think it through before they just they join forces with their best friend, because I always say you might not be best friends 6 months from now or a year from now, and I've seen a lot of that where guys, it just ends really poorly, and ultimately the company dissolves, or you're fighting over assets, you're fighting over who does more work, and it's certainly it's tough enough running a business. It's really tough if you've got a partner that if you're not on the same page.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm writing down notes on my phone, because man, like I know you're just talking, and like this is secondhand conversation to you, but you got to realize, like, to guys like me and other guys listening in, like I'm like at the edge of my seat, like listening in off of every word you're saying. Straight up, like, this is good content. And I really appreciate you opening up and sharing, because, okay, somebody's got a partnership and they got a little $100,000 a year business. Well, like, I want to know, how does somebody who runs a 7 or 8 figure business do this stuff? Right. And so, like, this is, your normal for 10, 20 years. But a couple of things I wrote down was roles. You got to define roles. I feel, like you said, some people are bringing money to the table, some people are bringing experience to the table. But when you look at a company, there's sales, there's operations, there's HR, there's 5 or 6 different hats that can be worn in a company that gets the size, service and maintenance and equipment. Who's going to be the mechanic and who's going to be doing all that. I mean, those are really, really important conversations to have. Let me take it all the way back to the beginning. What was the catalyst for you to hire Matt or to make him a partner? I personally was just wondering, if you don't mind me asking, if anything's off base, just let me know. But what was the reason for him buying in? And maybe what revenue level were you guys at, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, probably when he bought in. So I think it was really 2010, 9-10 when the economy kind of crashed, and our value was probably at the lowest value it had been in, and we needed some cash, to be honest. And, I said, Matt, if now's the time. If we need some cash. The stock price, basically, the value of the company is probably at the all-time. It's at a low. It's and now's the time to inject some money, and that's how I remembered. He might say it a little different, but I also committed to him, and I knew that, together we could do better. And not that he was going to leave, but I made a commitment to him, and I followed through. And that's one of the things I think I've done really well all along. If I make you a commitment and you do what you committed to do, that I'm going to follow through with it. I hate when people make false promises or tell someone they're going to get a raise and then they don't follow through. We committed to it, and I knew that we were better together. And I also knew that again with two of us in there. It also gives you some freedom. You can, some of these guys that if you wear every hat in your company, you can't be gone. You can't go on a vacation.
Absolutely.
And so you've got some more depth there. And he had a different skill set than Matt has a different skill set than I have. And I knew he was fully committed to the company. And he had proven that, year after year. And I just knew together we could do something special. And, one of the things I say to people too is, as employees, is you have to make yourself incredibly valuable. You have to make yourself, the owner of the company needs to say, what would I do without that guy? And that was where Matt was from early on. I thought to myself, what would I do without him? Like, as long as I have him in my corner, as long as Matt and I are together, we can do anything. We'll be able to figure out anything.
Yeah, you're right-hand man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like make yourself, at any company you work at, you have to make yourself incredibly valuable. And you have to make the owner of that company think to himself, holy shit, how would I make it without him? And when you make yourself incredibly valuable, you get yourself in a position for opportunity. And that's, and most guys just don't do that. We talk a lot about they want more money, but they don't want to do anything for it. Well, if you pay me more, I'll do more. My deal is, Matt was the guy that, you didn't have to ask him to stay late or do more. He just was awesome. He made me know immediately, like, I don't want to do this without him.
Yeah.
So whatever I promised him, I'm going to do. And together we're going to be able to do better than I can do alone. Matt would have been incredibly successful doing whatever he would have chosen. I would have been I would have been okay on my own. I still would have had a good company. I just knew together we would be better. And I just knew our core values were in line from day one. It was take care of the customer. But Matt also taught me a lot. I think I taught him things about hard work, and he taught me a lot of things that he had some other values that, he always told me, if we do the right thing, the money will come. Like, let's not focus on money. If we do the right thing, we'll get, the money will follow. And I think a lot of people chase the money first.
Right.
And there were certainly lessons that we taught each other, and but it just was a good partnership, and it still is to this day. We had to have some really tough conversations when I said, I'm just not really excited about Perfect Cut anymore. I really want to focus on the Ballard side. I love the products. I think I really want to focus on adding more products. And and I said, and he knew I wasn't that happy. I just wasn't excited about what I was doing. I didn't feel like I was adding a ton of value to Perfect Cut anymore. And we were able to have several good conversations and, arranged for me to step away from the day-to-day and him to step up. And, he's the president of the company today, and he runs all the day-to-day. He works, he's in there 5-6 days a week grinding it out, and I'm not. And that's a pretty, that takes a pretty special partnership to not have resentment, and not for him to be like, well, shit, I'm over here running it every day, and you're over here running another company, and
right.
And we've been able to navigate through that pretty well. We've had some tough conversations a few times. I think we've had to have some tough conversations, but it starts with just being really honest, being very self-aware. When you start off kind of asking about roles, you've got to define those roles, and you've got to be really honest. And I think guys get this ego; their ego gets in the way. Like, just be honest. What are you good at? Where do you add value? And and then stay in your lane. If you're the best salesman, get out and sell. If you're the mechanic, if you're the most mechanically inclined guy, you might be the one staying late fixing broken mowers.
Yep.
And you can't be pissed about it. That's the value you bring to the company. If the value is that you don't have to hire a mechanic or outsource your mechanic work, you're the most handy guy there, and you got to stay late or come in on Saturday and fix the broken equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do that and not be pissed at your partner because he's not there.
Right. Well, dude, I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, I'm always intrigued by how, these partnerships work. And, I wrote down a couple of things, like hiring out your weaknesses, like if you have a partner, you can hire out, if you're bad in sales, hire a good sales guy, and if you're good at operations, then, and the other guy's not because he's focused on selling, then that's a great partnership. People, John Maxwell says, at most on the leadership board on the spectrum of 1 to 10, let's say you're a 7 at sales. He said most people can slide +2 in whatever they do if they're extremely passionate about it. So, for example, if you're a 7 in sales, you can bring that to a 9. But let's say you're just not organized and you're not an operations guy. I'm trying to keep it practical for us. But let's say you're a 2 in operations. At best, you'll go from a 2 to a 4. So it doesn't benefit you. There's not enough value that's going to be derived from you going from a 2 to a 4. You're still pretty weak in that category. But what I always say is, like, if you're a 7, take it to a 9. And if your other friend is a 7 and take it to a 9, well, shit, you're both 9s then. And that's what I think so many people focus on. Well, I'm not good at this. I got to spend time at getting better at that, like bookkeeping or payroll or this or that. And my attitude is, no, dude. Tom Wheelwright, Kory, we had on our show. He's the personal CPA to Robert Kiyosaki. Amazing dude. Very intelligent. He goes, business is a team sport. He goes, who are you building your team with? And your partner is your number one teammate. Like, you guys got to know the plays. You guys got to know the roles. This is just, I think this is a really good thought process. One other thing that I wanted to mention that you just talked about with roles, like Liz and I, in our marriage is a partnership. Like how we run our house, it's a partnership. Like, this might sound chauvinistic. We're a little old school, but forgive me, but frankly, I don't care either. Listen, Liz keeps care of the house inside. I take care of everything externally. I bring in the money. I bring in the revenue. I take care of the family finances. Liz takes care of the house. She runs the thermostat, the atmosphere, the control. If I'm having a good day or not, it's gonna sort of be predicated on even if Liz is making sure that the home is happy. It's upbeat. I can take my armor off. Like, basically what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not trying to necessarily do dishes and clean and mop the floors because I have an income producing asset or skill that I need to be doing to provide for the family. So Liz isn't all pissed off when I'm doing a podcast or working or doing a landscape job on a Saturday. Like, she knows my roles. And if I come home and, something's not done, I'm going to go, Liz, why didn't you do this or this? Which rarely happens. But our first few years of marriage, bro, like, we're both type A's, right, Kory? Like, you probably know where I'm going with this one. And everybody wants to do everything. Everybody wants to control everybody. And when something doesn't get done, it's your fault. And it's like, no, like, we really, 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 guys, I'm telling you the simplest stuff. Like, we did laundry. Like, Liz would do all of it and mess up my clothes. I would do mine and mess up her clothes. And now, here, you know what we had to decide? I know this sounds kind of stupid, but we do our own laundry. Because she wants to do it. I'm telling you, but this saved our, the people don't get divorced because, all the time because of an affair. I mean, like, it's the death by 1,000 paper cuts thing. And, two people go sit on the sideways couch and they're like, yo, what's going on with your marriage? Well, he always leaves his clothes, or he's never home for dinner, or he's always in the garage. It's like the stupid little stuff that destroys a marriage so far, in my opinion. Like, I'm not the guru. I've only been married for 5.5 years, but so Liz and I, we had this huge problem with solving our stupid laundry. Dude, we do our own laundry. Like, I don't mess up her, all of her intimates, and she doesn't mess up all my stupid clothes that have grease and oil on it. Like, it's our own, but we had to define those roles. I don't think who's going to be doing the dishes and cleaning the bathroom, because we have a partnership. Now, I told Liz, here's my plus two: hire out anything you don't want to do. These are your roles. Anything you don't want to do, hire it out. You want a cleaning lady, get a cleaning lady. You want this, get that. And then there's things I do in my industry. Like, I do a podcast. It costs me a couple $100 every time I do a podcast. I'm not kidding. We have a producer. So I don't want to do the production work, so I hire that out, right? So I'm focused on doing the absolute things I love. Liz is focused on doing the absolute things she loves. We have defined roles, but even in our own little ecosystem, there's things that we both don't want to do that we are responsible for. And so we build a team. Somebody else takes care of it, right? Like, I mean, dude, if I don't know what else you guys are looking for on a podcast, that's good stuff, And yeah, Kory,
well, that's the same business. You got to have defined roles, and you got to stick to them. And you hit on something else that I liked. And people tend to focus on the things they're not good at, and try to bring those up. And again, what you need to focus on, this is not necessarily even in a partnership, but you need to focus on the things you're really good at. And I think that when you spend the time fine tuning the things you're really good at and stay in that lane, you're gonna reap the rewards. People spend too much time trying to bring the things that they're a 2 at up to a 4, like you said.
Yeah.
And that to me is just craziness. I know what I'm not good at, and I don't spend much time doing it. And I try to hone in on the things I am really good at, and be the best at that thing that I can be. And and in a partnership, if you're looking for a partner, you have to find somebody with a different skill set than you. And if that person has the exact same skill set as you, I question what value they bring. If you already have that same skill set, maybe that person is really good at the finances and really good at billing, and they can handle the routing, and you can't. You're just really good in the field. That might be a good partnership. Or maybe that person's a landscape expert and you're a lawn care expert, and now you think you can diversify your company into a couple different, lanes. And so when you're looking at partnerships, again, you have to figure out, why does this partnership make sense? Not because it's going to be fun. I think people have this romantic vision that them and their buddy are just going to be mowing yards together, and that might be fine if that's your goal. But if you truly want to build a sustainable business and not just a job, you have to find that partner that brings different value than what you bring to the table. And again, no different than a marriage. My marriage, same deal. Lindsay and I, we know exactly what we handle, and we just kind of stay in our lane, and that's how it works. And and we don't cross over. We don't cross over much at all. Like I just do what I do, and I handle it, and I don't bitch about it. You just know that this is what I do, this is what you do, and I mean, and that works well.
People think it's funny, bro, but like literally, I don't know any other way to say it just to be authentic and funny. Like we had to figure out stupid roles like that, bro. Like, who's doing the grocery shopping? Liz is like, you're going grocery shopping? I go, I will absolutely never, ever, ever set foot in a grocery store ever again for the rest of my life. 100 years from now, I will never. And she goes, well, I need somebody to go get groceries. I go, you should have thought about that problem a week ago. And she's like, well, because we're type A. This is how we talk to each other. I mean, we're lovey-dovey, but don't get me wrong. We're type A. And if you're married to a type A person, like a cleric, a driver, like, Kory, you're a driver. This is how it works. Okay. Like, not my problem. And you guys think I'm like detail oriented, but I'm a driver. And she's like, well, it's not my problem either that you didn't communicate to me. So what do? We get, the home chef, we get the Blue Apron, and we get Meyer and Kroger to deliver the stupid groceries for $22. Like $20 can solve all your marriage problems, man, by just having stupid groceries delivered. Cause I mean, again, like, this is partnership about business, but I know this is kind of marriage, but dude, it's important because I didn't want to go to stupid Meyer or Kroger and spend, cause I'm a dude, I don't know where anything's at, and spend 2.5 hours there when I could have been doing a landscape job or a podcast or a YouTube video, making hundreds, if not thousands. And so I'm like, you're crimping on my ability to be a 9 or a 10. And so like, we had to slow down to speed up. I mean, Kory, you ever hear that? Slow down to speed up? Like,
absolutely, all the time.
I mean, have these defined roles, dude, this is like, it's always funny. Like, people are like, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, nothing. We're not going to write any notes down because the inspired stuff is 10 times better. And hopefully if you guys are listening to this, or enjoying it, leave us some comments and some ratings and reviews if you guys can. But, well, Kory, I want to talk to you a little bit more about like the legal aspect. Okay. We're going to take a quick break here from the show sponsors again, but I want to press you a little bit about the formation, the legal setup, because on your podcast on the Green Grind with Leroy and Adam, you were sharing about how your business is structured. And I think that's actually a huge missing ingredient to a lot of the younger guys out there, right? They're excited about the business. They're excited about the industry. They're excited about what they can do. Like, I'm the best landscaper. I'm the best mulch guy. I'm the best mow guy, right? Like you were just saying. But the way you structure your business is incredibly important for both parties. You know, we don't want to have any unknowns. Can we still grab you for a few minutes here? You got to bounce, or you still got a couple more minutes? Okay.
I'm good, buddy.
All right, cool. Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to catch my breath. We're going to hear from our show sponsors, and then we're going to dive right back into this.
Keep yourself protected as you grow your lawn care business. It's 2020. We believe you should have options other than hot and heavy earmuffs or standard earplugs to protect your hearing. Get comfortable protection you deserve with ISO Tunes. Our Bluetooth headphones merge high-quality audio with noise-blocking earplugs. Certified by OSHA, ISO Tunes provides protection and delivers durability to last you season after season. Visit isotunes.com to find your fit.
Fullerton Unfiltered. It's real stories from real green industry owners. Isn't it nice just to know you're not alone with all the craziness that owning a business brings? And now, more of Brian's interview with Kory Ballard.
Awesome, guys. Well, cool deal. We'll always appreciate the show sponsors supporting the podcast. And thank you to Mr. Producer for putting everything together. Definitely a gem there. So let's get right back into it. I want to make sure that we keep diving deep, and I don't want to take Kory's time for granted here. So Kory, you were saying on your podcast on the Green Grind that the way you structure your business from the beginning is really going to determine the altitude of the company and who's making what money and who's able to do certain things. So let's just slow it down, and maybe you can even guide me through this process, because I'm not going to pretend like I have it all figured out. When you had Ballard and you were restructuring the company, did you have to get lawyers involved to reformat an LLC or add partnerships or membership agreements and stock options? How did you guys go about this? Did you have somebody in the industry that you called on to form a partnership, or what did you guys do?
So on the Perfect Gut side, you mentioned Ballard, but on the Perfect Gut side,
I'm sorry, I'm Perfect Gut. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm again, I'm not a lawyer. Guys, we can talk about lawyers and attorneys and their fees, but it is absolutely crucial to spend that money up front and sit down and with an attorney and figure out, what are we doing, an LLC? Are we doing a partnership? Are we doing an S corp? A C corp? What makes the most sense for our business? What does that mean to us personally, from a tax liability standpoint? If you're a S corp, it's going to run through you're going to get K1 at the end of the year for profits. And what does that mean? And who's going to pay those taxes? Because, it's very simple. If you're, guys don't sometimes understand the tax liabilities either. If you're an S corp, and to make it easy, you profit $200,000. Each owner, if there's two owners, are going to get K1 to $100,000. Now you owe taxes on that. So, is the company going to pay that? Are you taking distributions? Are you personally liable for that? So there's a lot of things that you need to walk through from the get-go and figure out, first off, what type of business do you want to have? What type of corporation do you want to have? And once that's set up as well, I think you also have to look at, again, how often do we have life insurance on each other? So there's, very simple, especially if you're young, get some term life insurance on each other where the other person's the beneficiary. And then there's a buy-sell agreement. What if that person gets injured? Or what if they get injured and they're unable to work, paralyzed, or for God forbid, something like that. And that person's unable to perform their job. What does that look like? So we've done a really good job of that. And I know it's kind of tough to have those conversations, but you really have to lay out, what does this look like if something happens to one of us? What does it look like if one of us wants out? Matt and I have an agreement that if either one of us wants out, we've got to notify the other person. There's an agreement in there that you get X amount of the value of the company. We have our company evaluated every 2 years.
Okay. So
there's no questions. We have our CPA firm and another company gives the evaluation every 2 years. That also at that point makes sure, do we have enough life insurance on both of us? So if something happens, that the other person's spouse will be financially taken care of. Because the last thing you want to do is lose a partner, a business partner that's vital to the company.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's say you don't have insurance in place, or let's say, so now you've lost your business partner, and now you owe their wife, let's say X dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So now you don't have your business partner. You now are making payments to their wife, trying to figure out how to buy the wife out or take care of it. So, there's very inexpensive ways to just have some protection in place. Whether again, life insurance is simple, but
key man insurance,
says, key man insurance, then also disability insurance, which is a little more expensive. But if you're young and healthy, it's not much. If you get injured, what does that look like? If you're unable to perform your tasks at work, what does that look like? And short-term and long-term disability, there's certainly different, avenues to look at. But, and then evaluating the company and also looking at, even from the get-go, exit strategies and making sure you're on the same page. If one of us wants out,
what does that look like?
What does that look like? And because everybody believes, it's worth X. And so, this guy thinks it's worth X, this guy thinks it's worth Y, and somewhere in the middle it might be. I'll sell out to you, and I want this, and and so it's kind of like a divorce. It could be that it's a fight, and the last thing you want to do, and when you start fighting, guess what? What happens? The business just inevitably the business gets disrupted. Employees are confused. They don't know what to do. They feel there's job insecurity. So you really have to protect the whole, and that's you got to make sure you got to treat it like a business. You got to treat it like a real business. I don't care if you're doing $100,000 a year or 10 million, you've got to treat it like a real business, because it's all relative in numbers. You've got to have, and I think you'll sleep better at night knowing that if something happens to me, I know that my family will be taken care of. I have it set up, and if I want out or Matt wants out, in my case, we know the deal. We don't have to negotiate. The deal's already decided.
How did you guys come up with all these formulas or agreements? Did you guys have like you said, an outside third party approach you guys and say, let's say you're 19 years old, you and your buddy, you're both cutting grass, you graduate high school, neither of you want to go to college. How did you and Matt, or how did you form these partnerships? Did you have like a legal company that advised you, like, hey, like here's like the 4 or 5 things we need to have in place? Like you said, a certain contract about buying each other out or selling to each other, having insurance. Like it seemed like you almost had this checklist that you were really familiar with. Was that something that you guys came up with, or somebody advised you on, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, and I can tell you, we didn't have it perfect for a long time, and it might not be perfect now, but. But yeah, there's attorneys that specialize in that. You get somebody that, you sit down, and again, you tell them what you're doing, what your goals are. And here, we want to be protected in the case of, disability, death, what's a buy sell look like if one person wants out. Those are sometimes tough conversations, because, I can tell you, if I want out a Perfect Cut today, I go to Matt and say, I want out, I take a pretty good haircut on the value, because that's the deal we made. So if you want out, you don't get full value. You're going to have to take a small, you're going to have to take a haircut on the value, and it might be 20, 25, 30%. But if you want out and you're forcing your partner to buy you out, he's got to get a value on that as well. And you're going to leave that guy, our case is a little bit different because I don't run the day to day, and our company, is strong enough and has enough people there to, whereas a smaller company, if one guy wants out, the other guy's like, I need you. Like, if you're gonna leave, and you have an integral role in the company, I have to replace you. And so, I think that you can not spend a crazy amount of money and get some legal help. Again, and just to know, and you can always evolve it. You can just start with the basics. At least make sure you've got, the company's set up correctly. You do have some life insurance or some key man insurance in there. And where does it go, and where does it go, and why? And then again, also, some sort of buy-sell agreement that says if either one of us wants out, this is what happens. And it's got to be fair. Usually you can agree on it, because whatever you agree on for yourself is the same for that guy. So usually you can come to a pretty, what do I think is fair? And because if you say, well, I want X, and he's going to say, well, so do I, whatever that number is, usually you can agree on it because you're both trying to make sure that it's a fair number. Because it's just like, could happen to you just as well. So you don't, again, you're not negotiating low because if it happens to you, that's your family's going to get this low number, Yeah.
You talked about on the green grind. And if you don't mind me asking, like I've never heard what you talked about. It was like the shootout or something like that.
Yeah. It's like it's a stand. Yeah. And not a lot of companies do this anymore, but I do know a guy that actually bought his partner out this way. But basically if you don't have an agreement in place, you kind of do this standoff. I don't want to screw it up. So I can't, it's basically, they call it a standoff. And so whatever offer I make to you, Brian, if you and I are partners and I say, I'll give you
$50,000.
The company's worth $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay. The company's worth $1 million, but I'll give you $250,000.
Okay.
If I make you that offer in writing, you have the ability to say, no, I won't accept that, but here's your check for $250,000. So what it does is it keeps you guys it keeps you honest. Whatever offer you're willing to make,
it's got to be fair.
You better be, you have, because the guy can turn around. If you offer first, you have to be willing to accept the same offer back. So you're not going to lowball your partner, right? If you make them an offer for $250,000 and it's worth $1 million, whatever the numbers are, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So now,
if you make him an offer for $250,000, he turns around, writes you a check, and hands it back to you. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Do you guys advise this or not advise this? Or is this just like one option you're saying?
Yeah, I would advise it to be clear cut from the get go. I would advise you to have an evaluation done. They're fairly inexpensive. If you use an outside CPA firm, they can usually take an EBITDA multiple of X. Maybe it's a 4 multiple or a 5 multiple, and they'll say your company's worth, about this amount. Do you guys agree that the company's worth this? And you say, yes, we agree. You can even tax them on it. They say it's worth $100,000. You say, we think it's worth 200. That's the number we both agree on, right? So the company, and so as long as you agree on the number, that's the most important part. So
okay,
I would agree. I would encourage guys to not get in a standoff. I would encourage you to have a number that you update every 2 years, unless your company's totally just stagnant, you're not changing much. But you're typically paying down debt. Your finances are changing. So every couple of years, you update that. Everybody signs it. You agree that the value is fair, or if you think the company's gone up. And that sometimes I think where guys get a little confused is the top line goes up, right? That doesn't mean the company's worth more money.
Right. Sure.
Because sometimes the debt goes up with it as well. So where I was a little confused at one point as we were growing, we had some evaluations done, and I'm like, what do you mean that's all it's worth?
Yeah.
Well, you netted this. I think I told you pretty clear that we had a year where we did $10 million and lost money, and that was about 2009 or 10. We had a tough year. We weren't paying attention to our expenses. Here we are doing $10 million a year. We got great customers, great trucks, great employees, and we get done and we're like, did we lose money this year? And
wow.
So the value of the company at that point is not very much. And here you're doing all this revenue, right? So I think sometimes people get a little confused with, top line versus truly what a company is worth, especially in our industry. We're not in software or pharmaceuticals where you've got this protected IP or this. At the end of the day, the value isn't always, I'm doing $5 million a year. My company's worth $5 million. I'm like, no, you netted $200,000. Your company's worth, your company's. So
that's interesting.
It is important. It is important that you have an outside company tell you what it's really worth. I think that also helps with your financial planning, your exit strategy potentially.
Absolutely.
It's sometimes really humbling to realize that, it's not worth sometimes what you think it's worth. And then that also, for us, it helped us focus on the bottom line. It helped us say, hey, it's this top line vanity, bottom line sanity, which is not my saying, it's somebody else's. It's like,
sure.
We look, it's this, like, we got to be profitable because otherwise we're just turning money. And so there's a little bit of a disillusion, especially if, you have a partnership and we're doing that. We're doing $2 million a year and I'll sell you my half for $1 million. It's like, no, I'll give you about $100,000,
Dude, I'm telling you, Kory, I know this is like normal conversation for you at your pay grade. And I mean, this is an incredible conversation for me. Like I'm trying to learn, bro. I'm trying to grow. I don't have it all figured out. Like I know some of these guys, they listen to me and they like, man, I want to be like Brian one day. I'm like, well, think bigger, you know. I'm like, I want to be like Bedell. I want to be like Ballard. You know, I want a $1 million company. I want to be worth $5 million, $10 million bucks one day, and or whatever. And I know like this might just seem like, you know, kind of normal conversation, but you know, this is really good too for those guys that are 17, 20, 25, that are coming to the table and their best friend and them like, dude, we could dominate. We could crush this thing if we're all in together. And I'm always like, hey, look, Kory, I think you have a line. We're like, look, you might be best friends when you start, but you might not be when you're done. I remember you saying that on the green grind. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Because I see a lot of people that it looks like it makes sense on paper, but then it's all those other things that you got to measure too. Like, do you guys have the same values? Do you guys have the same morals, the same perspectives? Like, one guy might want to take the company to 10 million and cash out and have a windfall. The other guy might want to just keep reinvesting, take no profit, take no distributions, and keep feeding the goose that lays the golden eggs. And, you know, one guy's thinking 10 years, one guy's thinking, you know, 50 years down the road, right? And I guess the one thing I'm really deriving out of this whole conversation is have the freaking conversations, right? Like what's your intent? What's my intent? What's your goal? What's my goal? And like you said, they're fluid. Those will change. But man, you said it at the beginning, bro, to go full circle. We all have heard this that like 4 out of 5 businesses fail in the first 5 years. And of those that are left, 4 out of 5 of those fail in 10 years. Right. And you know, that's just the business stuff, man. That doesn't count you having a wife, a spouse, you know, a husband, kids, you know, parents getting older, people passing away, somebody catches cancer. I mean, like, you know, it's tough enough in business, right? And then you add a partnership. I mean, like you said, if 10% of businesses are left or 5% of businesses are left after 10 years, I would bet you like only 3% of partnerships are left after 10 years. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems very logical that it's just so much more dynamic. Maybe it's the upside, you know, thinking out loud. Maybe it's 7% of partnerships make it because there's 2 guys in there, you know, but the bottom line is have these conversations. You know,
yeah. I want to say one more thing here, Brian.
Yeah.
Also, when you're thinking about a partner, man, you better have somebody that has your back, and you have to have their back, and you have to have their back every time. And I'm telling you, this is one of the things that I think Matt and I've done really well. You've got to you cannot be the guy that, you know, one of your employees comes to you and says, you know, maybe something bad about Matt or your partner. And you go, yeah, you know, Matt's just kind of a dickhead, or Matt, yeah, you know, that was his deal. You have to 100% back up their decisions every single time, even if you know he was wrong. And I'm sure, you know, I've been wrong, Matt's been wrong. We've done some bad business things over. I'm sure we've made poor decisions, or maybe you have to 100% have their back at all times. And you've got to make sure that this guy you're getting in business with, or gal, or family member, are they going to have your back every time? And that is crucial in this deal. You can't, again, it can't be, it's kind of the mom and dad. It can't be like, well, sorry, that's what your mom told. I would have let you go, but your mom told, you know, It's got to be, that was the decision. And we say this across in our entire company now, because we have a lot of people that make decisions, and it can't be like, hey, Kory, did you hear about the new uniform policy? Yeah, that wasn't my deal. I didn't, you know, sorry, Bob, you know, sorry, Bob put that in place. That ain't my deal. No, that's our policy, and I stand behind it, even if it wasn't my decision. So with your partner, you know, we've been through a lot, and it's just, you've got to make sure that, is that person in your corner every single day? Or you know, are they going to get behind the scenes and, yeah, my partner, Jim, you know, he's lazy. He doesn't really want to put, you know, you got to think about, is that person going to have your back, and are you going to have their back, even if you disagree sometimes, or want to say, yeah, you know what, that was a shitty decision. You know, I did. We'll learn together. As soon as you do that, you've lost all consistency. You've lost integrity. Your people, they start to see a divide. So I just, you know, partnerships are tough, man. Make sure you are 100% sure that this person is who you want to be in business with for a long time, for a long time. And whether you are or not, it doesn't matter. Can you see yourself, you know, and lay out where do you see in 5 years? Where do you see in 10 years? You know, also look at the way they spend money or save money. You know, if that person, is financially irresponsible, is that a partner you want? Or whatever it is. Is that person's vehicles are always filthy dirty and you're a clean freak, right? Like what again, all those little things matter. It's like the home, with the wife and the laundry. It doesn't, what do they value, and do our core values, are they the same? If that person doesn't care that trucks are dirty, if they dress sloppy and you're a clean freak, if they're financially irresponsible and all their receipts are on the floor of their truck,
like a saver versus spender, Yeah, in marriages, that you got a husband that wants to spend every dollar, the wife's trying to save. They get divorced over financial. They just can't come together, and it's the same with business. So you kind of have to look at their lifestyle as well, and their beliefs and their core values. Again, what and does that match mine? And that again, that's just without getting too deep in that. But I do, I just go back to having, man, your partner's got to have your back, man. You've got to have each other's back over and over and over again, because business is tough, man. It's just it's a grind. It's a grind out there, and employees are tough, and you're gonna have to have some tough conversations, and life changes again, like we talked about. And you keep saying, like, you got to have your business partner in your corner, and I'm thinking about this this visual. Did you ever see like the HBO miniseries, like what was it called, like the World War II front? Where they were Lieutenant Winters and all those guys, and they're I can't believe I'm missing the HBO miniseries, like where it's like the Army one, whatever, dude. Like they're all in like these foxholes and stuff, man, and like they're in the German forest, whatever that forest is. And I'm such a bad at history right now. This is embarrassing, but like, dude, they're moving the line forward and they're in the foxhole. And like, dude, if somebody hesitates when you're in the foxhole, boom, boom, both of you are done. Like people are storming and charging with bayonets, and like, bro, like you're saying you're in the corner with your business partner, but to me, like, you're in the front lines. You're in the foxhole with your business partner, trying to, you got mortars, blowing around you, blowing up, and people shooting at you, and you're trying to dodge bullets. Like if you're second guessing if that guy in the foxhole with you is gonna like hesitate or retreat or doesn't have your back or isn't covering your six, that's just how I look at it. Maybe I'm a little bit extreme, but
you're right. You're 100% right. You're in battle together. I mean, you're in battle together.
Yeah.
And, is that guy gonna pull you through? And, I know in my business, I've been disconnected, and unmotivated at times. And he's been, and he would probably say the same thing. And is that guy gonna pull the extra weight for you and say, you know what, I get it. You need a break. Take a break. I'm gonna, I'll pull the weight. Or, does that guy have your back? And, and again, are you going to go to battle together and every day, and not when it's convenient, not when it's fun? I think guys, they forget that it's not going to be fun. There's going to be tough times financially, and
different seasons.
Are you willing to put money in? We've had capital calls where it's like, all right, guys, we got to throw some money in here, and one guy wants to put money in, another guy doesn't. Those are tough conversations, and I suggest you have those ahead of time. Again, there's the difference. So what if one guy is saving all his money and the other guy isn't, and you get to a situation where like, hey, we got a chance to buy this building, let's each throw in X. And he says, I'm not throwing it. I don't have any money. You're
right.
Like, what do you mean? Where's all your money? And it's like, I got a fancy house and a Porsche. And you're like, oh, well, shit, we got to put money in. We have to reinvest in our business. And so, again, those are real. That stuff happens, and and again, one guy wants to take all the money out at the end of the year. You got some money left over. Hey, let's just split it up. And the other guy says, hey, dude, we need equipment. We got to buy new equipment, and we need a little bit of a slush fund here. What if we have a bad winter or whatever it looks like for your business? And
yep.
So yeah, there's just a lot of things to navigate with partnerships, and with the right partner, you can do amazing things. I mean, I've been extremely blessed. I'm incredibly grateful today that that Matt and I have done this journey together, and I wouldn't have done it, knowing what I know today, I would have done it exactly the same. And but that's not the same for everybody.
Well, and that's the thing I wanted to leave with this too, was the caveat is, sometimes a business partnership with who you're thinking doesn't make sense. You know, I mean, like, that's fine too. You just got to have those conversations. I mean, Kory, I get questions. By the way, this episode, in my opinion, is going to be a classic. I'm going to be able to point so many people to this one. Just such good content here with what you're sharing and the insight, because, you know, I had a guy reached out to me the other day. We're messaging on Instagram, and a family friend wants to invest like 20 grand into this young stud's business. He's like, you know, 20 years old. And I go, well, what's the terms? Or what? He goes, well, I don't know, man. I just love cutting grass. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, yeah, he's going to give me $25,000 or whatever. And this kid's like, you know, you can tell he's got like the dollar signs, you know, for his eyeballs, you know, he's just like glossed over. And I said, well, what's the terms? He goes, he's going to give me 25% equity in the company. And I go, whoa, yeah. And you're chuckling, right? And I go, well, hold on, bro. I said, he goes, I don't even know what equity is. I Googled it. I couldn't find a lot of stuff, but do you think it's a good deal? And I'm like, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, like, dude, I said instantly no. Like, if you don't even know the terms, you don't even know what's happening, and you're just too young and naive, unless you enlist the help of a professional, like you were just alluding to, Kory, absolutely not. I go, because here's why. I tried to explain this in DM, and it's just so tough to do. And I'm like, bro, we need to get on the phone for an hour. Like, buy a coaching call. I can't answer this in 5 minutes. But I was like, imagine, you know, I told him, imagine 5 years from now, you do $400,000 and the company makes, you know, whatever, 150 to 200 grand. I'm like, you're going to get paid $35,000 and he's going to make $135,000. And you know what? By the way, you signed up for that. That might be a stellar deal because you don't have any money. And now you have a $400,000 a year company 5 years later. But, you know, and if without that guy's seed and capital, you wouldn't have been able to maybe do it on your own. So, but I go, but is that worth you losing 75% of the equity of a company, partnership, ownership? I'm like, maybe not, you know? And sometimes guys are like,
you got to play that tape forward. You got to play that tape forward and say, what if we get here? What does that look like? And because it sounds really sexy in the beginning, right? Oh, he's going to put money in. Well, yeah. And the other thing to that point, Brian, is where people get a little sideways is, you know, when people do put money in and like, well, he wants a return. That's an investment for him.
Exactly.
So, you know, they go, well, I'm doing all the work. I know, but remember, there was no company without him.
Exactly.
He invested money with the intention of getting a return. So you don't get to be mad at him that he's getting a return.
That was the agreement. Yep.
Yeah, that was the agreement. And I think people jump into these agreements sometimes when money gets in front of them. You know, like you said, they see these money symbols. Well, he's going to invest $100,000 in my company and I'm going to be able to grow. Well, yeah, but now he owns 50% of it.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, so you remember, he's not going to be doing the work. And, you know, and 2 years from now, 3 years from now, he's going to be getting that distribution every month and you're going to start getting resentful.
Yep.
You're going to start wondering. So you can do that with a clause that says, okay, he's going to invest 100, and we have a deal that I can buy him out at year 5 for a predetermined return, whatever that is. You guys negotiated, but what, you know, again, with an exit strategy to get him his return, a fair return. But you better have some sort of agreement that, you know, can I buy you out? When can I buy you out? And how much can I buy you out for? You know, and so there's very easy, and most guys will say that, you know, okay, I put 100 in year 5. If I can, you know, you can buy me out for, you know, fair market value X, you know, and so again, just that you have to play that tape forward because guys jump into these deals and then they blow the business up, and then the deal doesn't look so good anymore. Yeah,
dude. I mean, Kory, like these are like straight up real stories. That's why, like, I'm telling you, I'm so enjoying this conversation. I mean, we're gonna wind it down, but I'm so enjoying this conversation because I get that one a lot, and the other one I get a lot, Kory, and I know you do too, is you're hanging out with your best friend, and you both want to be 50-50 business partners, but the one of you brings in 20 grand in cash and the 2 mowers and the trailer. And your other friend, he wants to be a business partner, and you guys both think it's a good deal because you're a 2-man team. Well, you know, so you both think, one guy thinks you're 50-50 and you think you're, you know, 90-10 or 80-20, or, you know. And so sometimes it gets awkward. You're like, wait a minute, you know, there's 2 guys, so you think it's 50-50, but one guy is really kind of putting in like 90% skin in the game. And how do you pay out those profits? How do you pay out those distributions? Like, I don't have all those answers. I mean, like straight up, I'm learning this stuff every day. I've always kind of personally veered away from partnerships because I would rather here's just my attitude. I'd rather things take longer, but I get to keep it. Some of y'all want the the quicker, road to success. And I'm not saying it's like an easy street, but you guys know what I'm saying. The other opportunity is you bring in a couple partners, you bring in a couple investors, and maybe you can grow a big company, but now you only own 12% of it. Like there's no right or wrong answer. You just have to, again, we talk about this till we're both blue in the face, but you got to figure out what you're trying to do with this company and this partnership and this asset. Like, what's it for, right? What are you trying to do with it? Is that, Kory, dude, I'm telling you what, man, this is, I don't know if you've had fun with this, but this is like one of the most fun conversations I've ever had on a podcast because it's real, it's practical, it's super helpful. Episode 8 of the Green Grind podcast, I was pulling it up. Rick Johnson, does that sound familiar?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, Rick had a partnership, and we talked quite a bit about how his partnership went. And if you guys haven't caught that one, it's pretty good. He's in the landscape supply business, but talks a lot about his partnership. Yeah, and that's a good one to listen to as well. And ultimately he bought his partner out, but he touches on a lot of the kind of pros and cons of business partnership. And
so good. Yeah. Well, the Green Grind podcast, episode 8, just a little plug there. That's Kory. And what's Leroy's last name? I always forget.
Leroy Maine.
Leroy Maine. Shout out to Leroy. Tell him Brian Fullerton set it up, and tell him to keep asking good questions. We're trying to get Kory to ask better questions on his podcast, because Kory just yells at his guests, No, I'm just kidding. No, you guys don't do a great job. We were talking about before we hit start on the podcast. I said Kory's like, man, like sometimes podcasts are good, sometimes they're mediocre. He's like, you got any tips? I'm like, actually, bro, I hate to say it, but it's on you. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you can have a great guest, man, but you got to ask good questions. And some people, they just think podcasting is easy or making YouTube videos is easy. And I'm like, man, no, I sweat bullets through this thing to like come up with intelligent questions. Cause like we all hear this, right? Like the answers you get in life are predicated on the questions you ask. And so you want good answers in life, ask good questions, So, no, Kory, like for real, bro. I know we were going to talk about some of the Ballard products as we line up towards fall. I think we might try to bump that maybe for another episode. You and I were already talking. We want to lock down another episode here really quick. Getting ready for snow, the fall season and snow. Sure. So if you're open to that, I definitely want to get you back on the show next couple of weeks. But man, I mean, the nuggets you're dropping alone in this episode, I feel could make just millions of dollars in dividends and mindset for these guys, and with a wealth mentality. And again, I don't take it for granted that some of your caliber is going to take time to be on our show. Like we don't get comfortable with this stuff. So in all sincerity, thank you for being on the show. And any last things you want to wrap up with these guys, or a final thought? But if not, we'll shut it down.
No, I appreciate you being, having me on, and we'll touch base here in a few weeks. We'll talk a little bit about snow and some fall products. Again, if anybody wants to ask me any other, questions, I try to answer all the questions, which is kind of crazy, but you can obviously find us, the Ballard stuff on Facebook. We have 2 Instagram accounts. So yeah, check us out there. And I get a lot of guys that ask me questions on there, and I literally answer almost every one of them. Again, kind of like you, but super in depth. I'll have them email me, and I try to do my best to get back to everybody and give them some advice, as quickly as I can. And I try to help as many guys as I can. And I personally answer all the Instagram and Facebook questions. So I wasn't doing that last year, but I am now, which is a little overwhelming. Like you said, I mean, we get just like you, a couple hundred DMs. Sometimes like people like, you didn't answer me. I had like 150 questions that day.
It takes a couple hours.
We do our best to try to get back to everybody, and we appreciate the support. And the Brian's 10 code's been amazing. You guys that listen and follow, you guys have been killing it. So we appreciate that as well. And
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get back on in a couple of weeks or whenever it works for you, Brian, and we'll talk a little bit about snow. And snow's our largest division of our company, and so I can talk a little bit about how we do what we do and why we do what we do, and even for guys that are just do residential, some things that we learned along the way as well. So appreciate you having me on.
Dude, absolutely, bro. I'm excited. So at Ballard Products, at Ballard _innovative _ products, the Green Grind podcast, which is the show with Leroy Maine and Kory Ballard. They have other great guests on, some in the industry, some outside of the industry. And I kind of like that, kind of change up the perspective a little bit. So you can find Kory and all that everywhere. By the way, if you guys want to see an actual walkthrough of the shop and the whole company with Kory Ballard and Perfect Cut, we have a YouTube video on it. Just type in Perfect Cut, PERFICUT, Perfect Cut. And we did a whole video walking through this 8-figure lawn landscape company. We saw the yard and the trucks and all this other stuff. Just super, super cool. And it was real. It's tangible. Like I'm like walking through offices and buildings. I'm like, damn, this is no joke. And then we also did a walkthrough on the Ballard products, which is the aftermarket products that you sell, and just tons of support there. Like guys, the Super Jack and the gloves and the Catch Pros and all the different products that you guys see from the Ballard Instagram. That's the Brian's 10 affiliate code, saves you guys 10%. And straight up, thank you for supporting us with those codes and those support, those affiliates. And then, so we did a whole product episode on that on YouTube, which was just really cool. So, Kory, that's it, bro. Dude, I was like, dude, it'd probably be like a 30-minute conversation, probably, a couple things. And dude, an hour and 10 minutes later, I'm like sweating. I'm like, dude, this is like, I already want an encore, and I'm the host. You know what I'm saying? So I know if I'm learning, I'm hoping these guys are learning too. So thanks again, Kory, for sure, for being on the episode, bro. We appreciate it big time.
Awesome, man. Have a great day.
All right, guys. Well, hey, guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Fullerton Unfiltered and this podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, definitely shoot some DMs, tag us on Instagram, repost, and we'll share it with you guys and let Kory know how much you appreciate him and all the insight, and just tag him on Instagram. But, guys, if you haven't left us a 5-star rating or review just yet, we really appreciate that. And, guys, that's it for this episode. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Well, Brian just literally said everything that I had here on my notepad to mention, so I guess no need to rehash that. I will point you over to the Lawnpreneuracademy.com website, where another way that you can show your appreciation just for all of this amazing content is by picking up some Fullerton Unfiltered swag. Click that merch link. You can score a variety of tees and hoodies. Gotta say, my favorite design, certainly the Motivated t-shirt. Check out that design for yourself at Lawnpreneuracademy.com.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.